guys. First of all, we all know I'm a nerd. I've done D&D, I've done Pokemon, so now I'm just doing video games in general. And the big topic today is that video games may have a connection with violence, but they're not the reason that teens have become more violent nowadays than in the past. First of all, I've loved video games since I was like 2. I don't even think that's when I started. I think I probably started younger. But I've grown up with video games until now, where I'm, currently living. And one of my favorite video games was called Xenogears. Very violent game. You were this little kid that had his village completely wiped out by an invading mech tribe, because it's one of the mech genres where you get into giant robots and fight. But this game was a little different. It actually had story, unlike some of the newer games where it's just kill everyone quickly before they kill you. But I myself have grown up with all kinds of games, whether they be violent or non-violent, and I myself don't think of me as a violent person. Now, I may look violent, but I'm not. So, first of all, video games, they've come a long way. They started with like giant machines that had like little itty monitors that were about yay big, and now we now have handheld tablets that play video games. We have computers, we have consoles, we have all kinds of things, and they've gone a long way, not only to be used for like business and things, but for entertainment, not for causing violence. I found this and found it kind of funny. Violence is caused by video games. Well, what kind of video games have been played in the past 5,000 years? So, violence in teens. First of all, a lot of people have seen that teens, as they've grown up, have become more violent. Now, you look back, and it's the classic scenario of bullies of, give me your lunch money, let's go, kind of thing. And that has calmed down from what we see today at our school. But there are still places that have that kind of violence and things like that. And because video games have become more violent, news programs have started to decide that, oh, kids are more violent. It must be because of video games, because they don't want to put the pin on parents, because it's the parents and the situations that the kids grow up with that make them violent and turn out who they are, not video games. Now, one of the big video games that people will put the blame on for violence is called FPS, or first-person shooters. Our classic examples are Call of Duty, Battlefield, and games like this, where it's literally a first-person shooter where you are in first person with a gun and you're going around killing all of the enemy team before they kill you. A classic army scenario. There have been a lot of cases where kids will take this as their own ideal thing because there's something wrong with them. They have something that makes it click that, oh, this is so good, this should be real life. And they take that as a, let's go do this, which is where the news will be like, oh, video games caused this because there's something wrong with the kid, and because that kid had something wrong, they went to the video games instead of blaming the kid's own problems. Now, one of the examples that I found was that there was a 20-year-old that lived in his basement and played violent video games all the time. That was pretty much his life. And he went out and killed a bunch of people at a school, and they blamed it on the fact that he played video games. And this kid has been, when you're 20 and you're living in your mother's basement playing video games and that's all you do, there's obviously something wrong with you. And then the fact that he went to multiple gun ranges with his mother just adds on to the fact that it may not just be video games, but what he's been growing up with. Yes, video games blamed again. It's one of the biggest occurrences nowadays is, oh, massive violence. Let's go to video games, because every kid has played a video game. I want everyone here that has played at least a game raise their hand. Yeah, everyone has played a video game. And because everyone has played a video game, they automatically go to that as a source of violence. Video games are not the cause, though. They're for entertainment and entertainment purposes only. You'll be at home bored, your homework is done, there's nothing good on TV, let's play a video game. It's something to take up time and do something. Or, you know, your homework's not done, you just don't want to do it. Let's play a video game because it's fun. One of the things I found was with video games and violence, where if you surveyed people from age and gender, that there'll be some that think video games are the cause and some that aren't, and that the age actually determines a lot more than what people may think. Where people who think that video games can be cause of real world aggression, people that are 60 years older, about 79% of them agree that they are a source of violence, while people who think that frustrations, or that can be a useful outlet for frustration, so a positive thing, 49% agreed, and then people 18 to 24, 73% of them agreed. It's a very wide variety because as younger people who have grown up with video games, most cases you will agree that they are not the main cause for violence because you've grown up with them, you understand them. While people who are 60 and older, they haven't really had many video games, so they don't know the potential and the enjoyment of a video game like we do. So the range of perspectives change through age. And then, because they are not the problem, it's where do we point to? Well, one of the things that adults say is that they view video games as isolating and antisocial. Well, they're not. I bet half of you have played some kind of video game where you will talk to others in that video game. It's actually a great way to go through and bring up friendship, like LAN parties that we have a lot. We literally get a bunch of people on a computer, all to come sit in a room or a house, and we play video games together. If that's antisocial, I want to know what antisocial really is. So, a couple advantages of video games. Federal crime statistics has shown that people who have gone to jail who play video games people who have gone to jail has decreased since video games have come out, meaning that they're actually helping people stay out of jail and become less violent, or at least keep it hidden. Because there's always people who are going to be violent, but they know how to hide it. That's actually both good and bad. But it's the fact that people going to jail for violence has gone down since 1996 because of video games. Now, a disadvantage. My personal disadvantage is when I play a video game, I'll spend a little too much time on it, so maybe I waste time, or there'll be like a little app on my iPod or something, and I'll be in my room, and I'll be like, oh, I'll only play it for 5 minutes. Half hour goes by. I'll play it for 5 more minutes. Hour goes by. Should probably do homework. Nope, and I waste time. That's the only disadvantage I really see of video games. Now, my friends aren't screwed up. That's a fact right there. Most of them, or actually all of them, play video games, whether they be violent or non-violent, and they're not super violent people. So.
Only violent towards each other.
So video games are not to blame. It's like parenting and what they've grown up with. Now, one thing you might want to say is, oh, well, it's not just parents because they try their hardest. Well, it kind of is. Parents have to realize how to help their kids, even if it's a hard thing to do, because video games are not the main cause. It's how they're raised and what they grow up with.
One?
Nope. Everybody dance now.
That speaker system.
1, 2, 3. I like that song. That's fun.
Are we recording feedback?
School.
Third time.
Hey,